The silence of the universe was shattered. In the beginning, before any star shone in the vast expanse, before the first rays of light pierced the darkness, there was a being whose glory was beyond description. His name, Lucifer, the most radiant of angels, adorned with celestial splendor, endowed with unparalleled wisdom, and crowned with the highest position among the heavenly hosts. But this story is not about his glory. It is about his ruin, about the choice that transformed a being of light into the greatest enemy of God and humanity. But who was Lucifer before the fall? What led him to rebel against the very Creator? And how has this story shaped the reality we know today? This is not just a story of betrayal and punishment. It is a tale of unrestrained ambition, absolute pride, and consequences that echo to this very day. Lucifer was the most exalted of angels, a being whose beauty and power reflected the grandeur of God himself. But something within him changed. The brilliance that made him magnificent became the very spark of his own destruction. What you are about to hear is not just an ancient account. It is a warning, a caution against an invisible but real danger, one that not only led to the downfall of the most beautiful of angels, but continues to destroy countless lives even now. Lucifer was not just any angel. He was among the anointed cherubim, a guardian of God's very glory. His power was immense, his beauty dazzling, his intelligence unmatched. But none of that was enough. Deep inside, a desire burned like a hidden flame. He wanted more. He desired the throne. Ezekiel 28 describes his magnificence before the fall. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you. You were an anointed cherub who covers, and I ordained you. But what happens when a being of limitless power believes he can be greater than the very Creator? Lucifer's pride was his first step toward ruin. The desire to be like God not only corrupted him, but set him on a collision course with the one who had created him. This story is not just about a fallen angel. It is about something far greater. It is about the battle between light and darkness. About how unchecked ambition can corrupt even the most glorious beings, and how that same force still works today, destroying those who, like Lucifer, allow pride to grow in their hearts. But how did it all begin? How did corruption take hold in such a magnificent being? What truly happened in the heavens? What led Lucifer to be cast out of God's presence and condemned to a terrible fate? And more importantly, why does this story still matter to us today? What you are about to witness is not just a narrative. It is a deep revelation about the true nature of evil. We will uncover the mysteries hidden within Scripture, reveal the intentions of the heart of the one who became the Prince of Darkness, and understand how his fall was not just a distant cosmic event, but a living lesson about the dangers of pride, ambition, and rebellion against God. This story is a reminder that no one is above divine justice. If such a glorious angel was brought down by his arrogance, what does that mean for us? Get ready. What will be revealed here may change the way you see not just history, but the world around you. And if you're ready for this journey, go ahead and leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because what comes next will surprise you. Now let's dive into the beginning of it all, when Lucifer was still the most glorious of angels. Before the darkness, before the ruin, before the rebellion, there was only light. Lucifer, the most beautiful, the most exalted, the one closest to the throne of God. He was not just an angel. He was the most precious jewel of celestial creation, adorned with splendor, surrounded by a radiance that no other being possessed. Among the armies of heaven, none were like him. None matched his beauty. None boasted his intelligence. None stood as close to God as he did. But what does it truly mean to have been the greatest of angels? Who was Lucifer before the fall? To understand his destruction, we must first comprehend his glory. The answer lies in Scripture. The prophet Ezekiel describes his magnificence with words that echo the grandeur of his existence. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald, and gold was prepared for you on the day you were created. Ezekiel 28:12-13. Lucifer was the very reflection of divine glory. His body was adorned with precious stones. His appearance shone like no other celestial creature. But his greatness was not just external. He was also endowed with immeasurable wisdom, an intelligence so vast that it allowed him to comprehend hidden mysteries, lead the heavenly armies, and execute God's purposes with absolute precision. But there was something even more important about his position. Lucifer didn't just serve God, he stood before the throne. He was an anointed cherub, a guardian of divine glory. Cherubim were not ordinary angels. They were the highest-ranking celestial beings, those who stood directly in the presence of the Creator, guarding his throne, leading worship, and reflecting his holiness. Lucifer was there, at the center of worship, in the presence of absolute perfection. He was a leader, a reference among the angels. His voice commanded heavenly choirs. His presence radiated authority. And so the inevitable question arises: if Lucifer already had everything, why wasn't it enough? The answer lies in a crucial detail. God does not create automatons. He gave every celestial being an invaluable gift: free will, the ability to choose, to love, to decide between serving or rebelling. And it was precisely this freedom that revealed the first great sin in existence. Lucifer had everything any celestial being could desire: beauty, power, knowledge, authority. But a feeling began to grow inside him. At first it was just a shadow, a silent thought. I am great, I am powerful, I am magnificent. But then came the fatal thought: why should I submit? Why can't I be like God? And in that moment, the brilliance that once made him magnificent became the very spark of his destruction. What once was gratitude turned into dissatisfaction. What once was worship became ambition. What once was humility became pride. He did not just want to be near God, he wanted to be God. And so the first sin of creation was born: pride. It was pride that caused a perfect being to become lost in his own greatness. It was pride that turned a cherub into a traitor. It was pride that set an angel on the path of destruction. And that is the great lesson. Lucifer's exalted position did not satisfy him. He wanted more. But how exactly did this dissatisfaction manifest? How did a mere thought turn into rebellion? How did Lucifer go from being a glorious angel to becoming God's greatest enemy? The answer lies in the verses of Isaiah 14, and what they reveal is shocking. Pride, invisible, silent, treacherous. No other sin begins so subtly yet grows so powerfully. Pride needs no weapons, no armies. It infiltrates the mind, takes over the heart, and before one realizes it, it has already taken control of everything. This is how Lucifer's ruin began. Before his fall, he was already exalted, the most radiant of angels, the closest to God, surrounded by celestial glory. But with time, the worship he was meant to offer to the Creator began to be distorted. He began to see himself as worthy of the glory that belonged only to God. He began to ask himself, why should I serve if I can rule? Why should I bow if I can be worshipped? This thought grew within him like a poison. Pride consumed his being, and he began to desire the impossible, to be equal to the Most High. Isaiah 14 gives us a chilling glimpse into what was happening in Lucifer's mind. His intentions are revealed in words that still echo today. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14:13-14. These words are more than just a desire. They are a declaration of war. Lucifer no longer wanted to be a servant. He wanted to be God. But this decision did not happen overnight. It was a process. The pride grew within him little by little, like a seed planted in the heart. And over time, that seed became a tree of rebellion. He began to doubt. He began to question. He began to look at the other angels and ask himself, why don't we rule? Why must we submit to just one? And he did not keep these doubts to himself. He began to spread them. He began to plant the same dissatisfaction in the hearts of other angels. Pride does not just corrupt, it spreads. Heaven, once a kingdom of harmony and worship, now began to feel the first signs of unrest. Angels who once bowed without question now began to wonder, what if Lucifer is right? After all, he was wise, he was beautiful, he was powerful, his voice was heard, his influence was real, and so the conspiracy began. But there was a problem. Lucifer was not a creator. He was not God. His power did not come from himself. It came from the Creator who made him. His brilliance was a reflection of divine glory, not something he generated on his own, but blinded by his own pride, he no longer saw this truth. He believed he could win. Pride does not just blind, it deceives. It creates a false sense of greatness. It makes someone believe they can challenge the unquestionable, that they can rise above what was established, and that is the great lesson. Pride is the first step toward destruction. It was so with Lucifer, and it can be so with anyone. But now there was no turning back. Lucifer was no longer just an angel with rebellious thoughts. He had already become the leader of a conspiracy. His heart was corrupted, his mind taken over by the desire for power. What would happen now? The rebellion had already begun inside him, but what about when he decided to act? The answer is a war that changed everything. Heaven would never be the same again. The celestial harmony, which had remained unshaken for countless ages, was now corrupted by the pride of a single being. Lucifer, the most beautiful of angels, the guardian of God's glory, was no longer satisfied with worshipping. He wanted to be worshipped. He did not want to serve the Creator. He wanted to take his place. And for that, he was willing to declare war against God himself. The conspiracy was already in place. 1/3 of the angels, drawn by the promise of power, had joined him. Heaven was gripped by tension. The rebellion was no longer a hidden thought, but a revolt about to explode. The unimaginable was about to happen, a conflict in the very heart of the celestial kingdom. Revelation 12 describes the moment everything changed. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Revelation 12:7-8. What had started as pride had now become war. On one side, Lucifer and the angels who had chosen to follow him. On the other, Michael, the great warrior of God, and the angels who remained faithful. The battle was inevitable. Heaven, once a place of peace and worship, was now consumed by a cosmic war of unimaginable proportions. The armies clashed. Lightning tore through the heavens, thunder echoed through infinity. Forces collided with power beyond human comprehension. Lucifer, consumed by fury, led his legion with the promise of a new rule, a new order where he himself would reign. But Lucifer had made a fatal mistake. He believed he could win. He believed his strength was enough to dethrone the Creator. Pride had blinded him. He did not realize he was fighting against God himself. Michael rose up. His name, meaning "who is like God," was the answer to all of Lucifer's arrogance. No being can equal the Most High. No force can overthrow the Almighty. And then judgment was declared. Lucifer and his followers did not prevail. They were defeated. The rebellion was crushed. There was no more place for them in heaven. And then came the fall. Divine justice was executed, and Lucifer was cast out of God's presence. Like lightning, he was hurled from the heavens, thrown into the abyss. The light that once made him shine was now extinguished. His name, once a symbol of beauty and splendor, had now become a curse. He was no longer Lucifer. His celestial title was stripped away. Now he was Satan, the adversary, the prince of darkness, the enemy of God. Those who followed him shared the same fate. 1/3 of the angels who once served before God's throne were now demons, exiled, condemned. There was no return. There was no forgiveness. The choice had been made. But this story does not end here. The war was won, but Satan did not accept defeat. Consumed by hatred, driven by rage, he devised a new plan. If he could not strike directly at God, then he would attack what God loved most. The target of his vengeance was now divine creation. Humanity was about to experience the wrath of the fallen one. Lucifer fell. The impact of his fall resounded throughout the universe. What was once an angel of unimaginable splendor was now a banished being, an exile condemned to darkness. He who once walked among precious stones and reflected the light of the Most High now found himself engulfed in shadows. He ruled over nothing. He no longer had glory nor position. All he had now was hatred. His new name carried his curse. Satan, the adversary, the deceiver, the prince of darkness. The name that once meant light had now become a symbol of ruin. The prophet Ezekiel describes this destruction in brutal terms. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created till iniquity was found in you. By the multitude of your iniquities you were filled with violence and you sinned. Therefore I cast you as profane out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the fiery stones. Ezekiel 28:15-16. He was cast out, banished from the presence of the Creator. From a glorious cherub, he became a fallen being. From a heavenly leader, he became prince of nothing. But something burned inside him. A desire for revenge, an irreversible hatred. He had lost his throne, his place in heaven, his position among the angels. But if he could no longer rule in heaven, he would try to reign over the earth. And that was where his new plan began to take shape. If he could not defeat God directly, he would attack what God loved most, humanity. The earth had been created. Man and woman had been formed in the image and likeness of God. They were different from any other creature. They had free will. They had souls. They had a direct relationship with the Creator, and Satan saw his opportunity. He could not win by force, but he could win through deception. He was the master of lies. He knew how to plant doubt, how to twist the truth, how to make God's creation choose disobedience, exactly as he had done. If he had fallen because of pride, he would make mankind fall for the same reason. And so, he entered the Garden of Eden. It was there, in the form of a serpent, that he set his plan into motion. With carefully crafted words, with a lie expertly designed, he convinced Eve to disobey. You shall not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3:4-5. The same lie he told himself, he now told humanity. And it worked. Adam and Eve fell. The perfect creation was stained by sin. The separation between God and man began. Paradise was lost, and Satan smiled. He had not taken God's throne, but he had corrupted humanity. He had destroyed the purity of divine creation, and now he would rule over a fallen world, a world of pain, sin, and death. But he forgot one thing. This was not the final word. The war was not over, because God already had a plan that would seal Satan's fate forever, and that fate is already written. The earth was never the same again. Eden A perfect paradise where God walked with man was now stained by sin. What began as a mere whisper from the serpent became humanity's curse. Satan's deception had worked. Adam and Eve fell. The communion with God was broken, and in that moment, the destiny of the world changed forever. Satan had a new kingdom. He did not win heaven, but now he ruled over a world of darkness. Humanity, created to live in obedience to the Creator, was now enslaved by sin, and Satan would not stop there. His goal was never just to corrupt the first humans. He wanted much more. He wanted to destroy generations, dominate hearts, and keep mankind away from God. From then on, he operated in the shadows, manipulating and deceiving. His method? The same one he used against Eve: deception. Jesus revealed this truth in a clear and direct way. He was a murderer from the beginning and did not abide in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of lies. John 8:44. Lies, deception, manipulation. These are Satan's real weapons. He does not need brute force. He does not need to appear as a monstrous figure. All he has to do is plant a doubt. All he has to do is make man question the truth. It has been that way since the beginning, and it remains that way today. He has tried to destroy humanity from the very start. In the flood, human corruption had grown so great that God had to intervene. In Babel, he incited men to try to reach heaven by their own means, an act of collective pride. He has worked behind the scenes of empires, corrupted kings, and manipulated entire nations. From Pharaoh, who oppressed God's people, to Nebuchadnezzar, who demanded worship for himself. From Herod, who ordered the massacre of innocents, to the religious leaders who plotted against Jesus. He was always there. And the great truth is that his strategy has never changed. Pride was his downfall, and pride continues to be his greatest tool against mankind. He makes people believe they can live without God, that they can follow their own paths, that they can find meaning in life apart from the Creator, and so many fall. He has become the god of this age, blinding the minds of those who do not believe. He has infiltrated culture, politics, and religion. He has distorted truth and created false paths to lead people away from the light. Satan is subtle. He does not appear as people expect. He does not need to manifest in a terrifying form. His method is influence. He works through small decisions, small compromises, small deviations from the truth. He seduces through power, pleasure, and vanity. He deceives hearts and leads them away from the truth. But he forgot one thing: he did not win in Eden. He did not win in the wilderness when he tried to deceive Jesus. He did not win at the cross. He did not win at the resurrection. He may fight, he may deceive, he may mislead, but his fate is already sealed. The great lesson: Satan continues using the same strategy that led to his downfall: pride. But his defeat has already been decreed, and the final judgment is near. Satan's time is running out. Since his fall, he has fought against God, against the angels, and against humanity. But his war has always been doomed to failure. His reign over this world is nothing more than a shadow, a temporary illusion. He acts as if he still holds power, but the reality is that his defeat was sealed from the very beginning. He tried to stop God's work. He tried to corrupt mankind. He tried to destroy everything created by the Most High. But in the end, he will lose everything. His fate is already written, and nothing can save him. The Bible shows us that even knowing he will be defeated, Satan continues his mission of deception. He has not given up. On the contrary, he becomes even more ferocious because he knows his time is short. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. Revelation 12:12. He intensifies his attacks. He multiplies his lies. He corrupts nations. He raises false leaders. He seduces men with pride, vanity, and power. He knows his destruction is near, but before that happens, he wants to take as many people with him as possible. But his final attempt to triumph will be crushed. The Bible reveals that at the end of times, Satan will make his last stand. He will gather the kingdoms of the earth in a great conflict against God. He will deceive the nations, lead the world into chaos, and attempt to establish an absolute kingdom of darkness. But at that moment, Christ will return. The King of Kings will descend in glory, and all the armies of heaven will come with him. No evil force will be able to withstand him. None of Satan's plans will succeed. The final battle will be fought, but the victory has already been guaranteed. And the devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Revelation 20:10. This will be Satan's end. The adversary will be thrown into the lake of fire. He will have no throne. He will have no glory. He will rule over nothing. He will be tormented eternally along with all those who followed him. This will be divine justice. The enemy who deceived the world, who spread pain and destruction, will be destroyed forever. And with that, everything will be restored. Sin will exist no more. Death will be defeated. Suffering will be erased. The kingdom of God will be established forever, and darkness will never return. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Revelation 21:4. This will be a new beginning. The moment when Satan's story will be nothing more than a distant memory of an enemy who thought he could defeat God, but failed. This is the great lesson. Satan is already defeated, but he is still trying to take many with him. He knows his end is near, but until then, he will keep deceiving. He will keep sowing doubt, feeding pride and encouraging sin. The question is not whether he will be defeated. That has already been decided. The real question is, whose side will we be on when that day comes? Because Satan will fall forever. But each of us has the chance to choose a different destiny. The story of Lucifer is not just about an angel who rebelled. It is a warning, a message for all of us. He was created with glory, beauty, and power. He walked near the throne of God. He had everything, but pride destroyed him. The desire to be greater than the Creator led to his downfall. And since then, he has been trying to drag as many people down with him. The lesson: if pride destroyed a perfect angel, what can it do to you? Satan is still active. He still deceives, still distorts the truth, still seduces with empty promises. He wants you to believe that you can live without God, that you can follow your own path, that you can build your own kingdom. But that was his exact mistake. And the question remains, will you learn from this story, or will you repeat the same mistake? God has given us a path of life, redemption, and restoration. But it is up to us to choose which voice we will listen to, the voice of the Creator or the voice of the deceiver. Satan's fate is already sealed. He will be destroyed forever, but our fate is still being written. The only way to avoid the same trap is to stand firm in the truth, because in the end, pride always leads to a fall. But humility leads to eternal life. And if this message impacted you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. The story of Lucifer is not just about him, it is about us. And now, the choice is in your hands. Leave a comment and tell us what you think about this story. Did you already know these details about Lucifer's fall? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content like this. See you in the next video.